The language carried by the wind, inside the vanishing world of whistled speech. High in the mountains, where roads coil like threads and valleys fall away into silence, a voice still travels, not through words, but through the air itself. A sharp whistle cuts across the distance. It rises, bends, and fades. Another answers from far away. To most of us, it would sound like birds calling to one another. But it is not birds. It is language, and it is disappearing. Echoes across distance. Long before phones buzzed in our pockets or signals bounced between satellites, human beings faced a simple, stubborn problem: how to speak across distance. In rugged landscapes, mountains, forests, deep valleys, ordinary speech fails. Words scatter. Shouts dissolve. Even the loudest voice is swallowed by terrain. But whistles endure. A whistle is not just louder, it is different. Human speech is complex, made of layered frequencies between roughly 300 and 3,400 Hz. Easily distorted by wind, trees, and echoes. A whistle, by contrast, is clean and concentrated, compressing sound into a narrow band often between 1 and 4 kHz, where it can slice through environmental noise with astonishing clarity. At full strength, a skilled whistler can reach over 120 decibels, louder than a car horn, projecting sound across kilometers of open space. In some environments, a message can travel 10 times farther than a shout. So across the world, people adapted. From the Canary Islands to the mountains of Turkey. From the forests of Mexico to villages in West Africa and Southeast Asia. Communities transformed their spoken languages into whistles. Today, researchers have identified more than 80 cultures that use or once used whistled speech. What emerged was not a code, not a trick, but a full, functioning language carried on the wind. A language without words. At first glance, it seems impossible. How can a whistle, just a single, pure tone, carry the complexity of human language? The answer lies in what language really is. We tend to think of speech as words. But underneath words are patterns, pitch, rhythm, stress, and subtle shifts in sound. Whistled languages strip speech down to those essentials and rebuild meaning from them. Instead of consonants and vowels, whistlers use pitch to represent vowel differences, transitions and interruptions to mimic consonants, rhythm and duration to signal emphasis and structure. In non-tonal languages like Spanish or Turkish, the whistle mirrors the shape of speech, the silent movements of the mouth translated into sound. A speaker forms words with their tongue and lips. But instead of vibrating vocal cords, they force air into a controlled whistle. In tonal languages, something even more remarkable happens. Languages like Chinantec already depend on pitch to distinguish meaning. When whistled, much of the articulation, the consonants and vowels, disappears entirely. What remains is the melody of the sentence. The rise and fall of tone that alone carries meaning. Meaning survives, even when the words themselves are gone. And astonishingly, it works. Experienced listeners can understand whistled speech with up to 80 to 90% accuracy in context. The brain that hears music as meaning. But the most extraordinary transformation does not happen in the air. It happens in the brain. Normally, the human brain divides its labor. The left hemisphere processes language, grammar, syntax, structure, while the right hemisphere handles music, tone, and melody. Whistled speech disrupts that division. Studies of fluent whistlers, particularly speakers of Silbo in the Canary Islands, suggest that both hemispheres activate together. The brain processes the whistle as both music and language at the same time. It is a rare neurological overlap, a kind of cognitive glitch where melody becomes syntax. In learning to understand whistles, the brain effectively rewires itself, training musical perception to carry linguistic meaning. In other words, people do not just hear whistled speech. They learn to listen to music as if it were words. Stories in the air. In the Canary Islands, locals still practice Silbo, a whistled form of Spanish that can convey full conversations across valleys. A skilled whistler can communicate detailed, precise messages. Everything from daily tasks to complex narratives. In the Turkish village of Kuzkoy, Bird Village, residents use a whistled form of Turkish to speak across steep hillsides, their voices echoing like birdsong. In Mexico, among Chinantec communities, whistled speech is not just practical, it is cultural. In some villages, the ability to whistle fluently was once required for certain roles. And men could even be fined if they failed to master it properly. And in the Greek village of Antia, an entire population once spoke a whistled language known as Spheria. Today, only a few speakers remain. These are not isolated curiosities. They are living systems, languages shaped by geography, necessity, and imagination. A language shaped by society. For much of history, whistled speech was often a gendered skill. In many cultures, it was primarily used by men, especially in activities like hunting, herding, or long-distance labor. Women often understood the whistles but did not actively use them. But that pattern is changing. As whistled languages decline, preservation efforts are bringing them into classrooms and cultural programs. In places like the Canary Islands, children, boys and girls alike, learn Silbo as part of their education. Increasingly, women are becoming teachers, researchers, and guardians of these traditions. What was once a tool of survival is becoming a symbol of cultural identity, one that is being reshaped by a new generation. The quiet disappearance. Despite their beauty and ingenuity, whistled languages are fading. Modernization has quietly erased the need for them. Roads replace isolation. Phones replace distance. Messages that once required skill and patience now travel instantly, without effort. And so, the whistles fall silent. Some languages, like the whistled form of Tepehuá in Mexico, are now on the precipice of silence. Others survive only among aging speakers. Even in places where they are still practiced, their use is shrinking. Whistled languages tend to survive only in places that remain remote, untouched by rapid development. When connection becomes easier, the need for them vanishes. And with it, the language. Guardians of the wind. Yet there is still hope. Organizations like UNESCO have recognized certain whistled languages such as Silbo and the Turkish bird language as part of the world's intangible cultural heritage. Schools are teaching them, researchers are recording them, communities are celebrating them through festivals and cultural programs. In France, recordings of a whistled Occitan dialect are being preserved and mapped, ensuring that even if the language fades, its voice will remain. These efforts are small, but they matter. Because once a language disappears, it cannot be recreated. The sound that remains. And yet, there is a strange irony in all of this. We abandoned whistles, simple, analog signals that carried meaning across valleys, for digital communication that can cross the globe in seconds. But even now, our devices still call to us with sound. A ping, a chime, a notification. These are, in a way, the descendants of whistled speech. Signals sent across distance to demand attention. But something has changed. They carry no story, no nuance, no human breath shaped by wind and distance. Just a sound, waiting to be answered. The last conversation. Imagine standing on a mountain ridge at dusk. The world is vast and quiet. Then, a whistle. It rises into the air, carrying meaning you cannot hear, crossing a distance you cannot measure. Somewhere, far away, another answers. A conversation unfolds, not in words, but in sound shaped by human need. This is what whistled speech has always been. Not just language, but connection. Between people, between landscapes, between past and present. And as those whistles fade, we are left with a question that echoes just as far. What else have we forgotten how to hear?
It's time to study new words in context. One-layered. Definition, made of several parts or levels placed on top of each other. Example, the story is layered with many ideas and meanings. 2. Mimic. Definition, to copy or imitate something. Example, the bird can mimic human speech. 3. Non-tonal languages. Definition, languages where the meaning of a word does not change because of pitch. Example, English is a non-tonal language. 4. Tonal languages. Definition, languages where the meaning of a word changes depending on the pitch or tone. Example, in Chinese, the same word can have different meanings with different tones. 5. Neurological. Definition, related to the brain and nervous system. Example, the doctor studies neurological problems in the brain. 6. Cognitive. Definition, related to thinking, learning, and understanding. Example, reading helps improve cognitive skills. 7. Glitch. Definition, a small problem or mistake that causes something to not work correctly. Example, there was a glitch in the computer system. 8. Find. Definition, made to pay money as punishment for doing something wrong. Example, he was fined for breaking the rules. 9. A gendered skill. Definition, a skill usually done or expected by one gender, men or women. Example, in the past, cooking was seen as a gendered skill. 10. Herding. Definition, taking care of and moving animals like sheep or cows. Example, the farmer spends the day herding sheep. 11. Preservation. Definition, the act of protecting something so it does not disappear or get damaged. Example, the preservation of old traditions is important. 12. Ingenuity. Definition, the ability to think of smart and creative solutions. Example, her ingenuity helped solve the problem. 13. Precipice. Definition, a very dangerous edge or a situation close to something bad. Example, the company was on the precipice of failure. 14. Intangible. Definition, something that cannot be touched but can be felt or understood. Example, happiness is an intangible feeling.
Comprehension question. 1. What is whistled speech? Answer: it is a way of speaking using whistles instead of normal voice. 2. Why did people create whistled languages? Answer: they created them to communicate over long distances, in mountains or forests. 3. Why can whistles travel farther than normal speech? Answer: because whistles are simple and strong sounds that can cut through noise. 4. About how loud can a whistle be? Answer: it can be over 120 decibels, which is very loud. 5. How many cultures have used whistled speech? Answer: more than 80 cultures around the world. 6. How do whistlers show meaning without words? Answer: they use pitch, rhythm, and sound changes to carry meaning. 7. What is the difference between tonal and non-tonal languages? Answer: tonal languages use pitch to change meaning, while non-tonal languages do not. 8. What happens to tonal languages when they are whistled? Answer: they keep the melody or pitch of the sentence to show meaning. 9. How does the brain process whistled speech? Answer: the brain uses both sides, treating it as both music and language. 10. Where is Silbo used? Answer: it is used in the Canary Islands. 11. What is special about the village of Kuskoy? Answer: people there use a whistled form of Turkish to communicate. 12. Why was whistled speech once mostly used by men? Answer: because it was used for jobs like hunting and herding. 13. How is this changing today? Answer: now both men and women learn and teach whistled languages. 14. Why are whistled languages disappearing? Answer: because modern technology like phones has replaced them. 15. What is the digital irony mentioned in the article? Answer: we replaced whistles with phones, but we still use simple sounds like pings to communicate.